Hey everyone, ready to dive into some seriously strange island mysteries? We're talking those isolated, kind of creepy places that make you wonder what secrets they're hiding.
Islands definitely get your imagination going, don't they? Maybe it's the fact that they're out there on their own, like they've got something to hide.
Yeah, and today we're taking cues from the Dark 5 YouTube channel. They've got a whole collection of unsolved island mysteries. Some are just weird, some will give you chills.
And these aren't just campfire stories either. We're talking about actual events, documented, recorded, stuff that'll make you scratch your head and say, what the fuck?
Exactly. So, get ready to explore some seriously strange disappearances, vanished islands, and even a little bit of biowarfare. Let's kick things off with the story of the Sarah Joe. Picture a beautiful February morning, 1979, off the coast of Maui.
Sounds nice so far.
It was. The Sarah Joe, a 17-foot Boston whaler, heads out with 5 people on board. Perfect weather, calm seas, the kind of day that makes you glad to be alive.
And until it isn't, right?
Sadly, you're right. Out of nowhere, a massive storm hits. One of the worst they'd seen in years.
And the Sarah Joe.
Gone. Vanished without a trace. They searched for weeks, covering thousands of square miles, but nothing. For 10 years, the families of those lost had no answers, no closure. Imagine the agony.
10 years is a long time to wonder.
It is. And then, just as the Sarah Joe was fading into maritime legend, a discovery. Over 2,000 miles away, on a tiny island called Tangle in the Marshall Islands.
No way, they found the boat.
They did. Stripped bare, but in surprisingly good shape. It was like the ocean just returned it.
Okay, that's already strange. But it gets weirder, right? There's more to this story.
Oh, there's always more. Next to the Sarah Joe was a makeshift grave marked with a driftwood cross. And inside that grave, a human jawbone.
Wait a minute, are you serious?
Dead serious. They identified it through dental records. It belonged to Scott Mormon, one of the crew members from the Sarah Joe.
So how did the boat travel that far? And who buried Scott Mormon? And why only his jawbone?
Those are the million-dollar questions. Some say the Sarah Joe drifted for months, even years, carried by ocean currents.
That seems like a long time for a small boat to survive the open ocean, doesn't it?
It does, which is why this remains one of the most perplexing maritime mysteries out there.
Yeah.
And it gets us thinking. If a boat can vanish and reappear thousands of miles away, what about an entire island? Ever heard of Bermeja Island?
Can't say I have.
It's not exactly a household name, but it's a fascinating story. Bermeja Island was this little speck of land in the Gulf of Mexico, barely a blip on the map. But its location, well, that's where things get interesting.
How so?
You see, Bermeja Island was right in the middle of what could have been a gold mine for Mexico oil and gas reserves.
Ah, now it's making sense. So this tiny island suddenly becomes very important.
Exactly. But here's the kicker. According to historical maps dating back to the 16th century, Bermeja Island was there. Multiple maps, different cartographers, all seemingly confirming its existence.
So what happened? Did it just sink into the ocean?
That's the million-dollar question. Sometime in the late 20th century, poof, gone, vanished. The Mexican government even sent out search parties, used sonar, satellite imagery, nothing.
Entire island just gone.
That's crazy. Right. It's like something out of a movie. Naturally, this sparked all sorts of conspiracy theories. Some say it was a deliberate act, that someone, perhaps another country with an interest in those oil reserves, made Bermeja disappear.
Okay, now that's a conspiracy theory I can get behind. It's like a real-life game of Risk. But seriously, do they think someone blew it up? Or used some kind of crazy technology to make it vanish?
Hey, who knows? Stranger things have happened. The truth is, no one knows for sure what happened to Bermeja Island. It's just one of those mysteries that reminds us that our planet still holds plenty of secrets. But speaking of secrets, let's shift gears to a different kind of island mystery, one that's a little more, well, let's just say it involves a lot more anthrax.
Anthrax, you're not serious.
Oh, I am. And it all goes down on a little island off the coast of Scotland, Grunard Island. During World War II, this seemingly harmless little island was turned into a top-secret testing ground for anthrax. They even gave the operation a rather unsettlingly cheerful name, Operation Vegetarian.
Operation Vegetarian, that sounds oddly pleasant for something involving anthrax.
I know, right? But don't let the name fool you. This was serious business.
Yeah.
The goal was to test how effective anthrax could be as a weapon, potentially contaminating enemy food supplies and even
Don't even say it.
the human population. They wanted to see how long the spores would linger in the soil, how easily they could spread, and unfortunately, it did. The tests on Gruinard were a chilling success. The island was deemed so contaminated that it was effectively quarantined uninhabitable. Just imagine, this beautiful little island, once home to nothing more threatening than a few sheep, turned into a no-go zone because of a microscopic killer.
That's terrifying. And
Yeah.
talk about a reminder of how messed up war can be. But the story doesn't end there, does it?
Oh, it gets even wilder.
Yeah.
Fast forward to 1981, a group calling themselves the Dark Harvest Commando comes out of nowhere. They claim to have gotten their hands on contaminated soil from Gruinard Island, and they weren't afraid to use it.
You mean?
Yep. They sent packages containing anthrax to various locations, including a military research facility. Talk about making a statement. Their message was clear. Decontaminate Gruinard or else.
Wow. So they basically held the country hostage with anthrax.
Pretty much. It caused widespread panic, threw the media into a frenzy, and forced the government to take action. They launched this massive decontamination operation using tons of formaldehyde to neutralize the anthrax spores.
Formaldehyde. That's some intense stuff.
It worked, though. Eventually, Gruinard Island was declared safe again, but not before the Dark Harvest Commando had made their point.
Talk about a wake-up call.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we still don't know who those guys were, do we?
Nope. They vanished back into the shadows as quickly as they'd emerged, leaving everyone to wonder who they were, where they came from, and how they managed to pull it off. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the scariest monsters aren't found in the depth of the ocean, but in the shadows of our own making. So before we went to those ads, we were talking about Coco's Island, a place practically synonymous with pirate lore. We're talking about the Treasure of Lima, right?
Right. That's the one. Gold, silver, jewels, you name it. It's supposed to be hidden somewhere on Coco's Island.
Okay, so we're not talking about a few gold doubloons here.
Hmm.
Paint me a picture. What exactly is the Treasure of Lima?
We're talking about a treasure trove. Gold and silver coins, jewels, religious artifacts, priceless Incan treasures. They say it was spirited away from Lima, Peru back in 1820.
1820. What was going on back then that someone needed to hide that much treasure?
Lots of chaos, political upheaval, revolutions. Not exactly the safest time to be holding on to a king's ransom.
I can imagine.
Mm.
So how did this treasure end up on a remote island in the Pacific? Was it pirates? I bet it was pirates.
You guessed it. Well, sort of. The story involves a British sea captain named William Thompson. He was tasked with transporting the treasure to safety.
Sounds pretty straightforward so far.
Yeah, except Thompson had other plans. He and his crew decided to go rogue. They killed the Spanish guards, stole the treasure, and set sail.
Whoa. That's a bold move. Betray your country, steal a king's ransom, and become a pirate. Talk about a career change. So, what happened next? Did he sail off into the sunset with his ill-gotten gains?
Not exactly. He sailed to Coco's Island. Legend has it he buried the entire treasure there, figuring he'd come back for it later.
So Coco's Island became his own personal treasure chest. But I'm guessing it didn't quite work out that way.
Nope. Thompson and his crew were eventually captured by the Spanish authorities.
Busted. Did they find the treasure?
Well, that's the thing. Some say Thompson struck a deal. He'd reveal the location of the treasure in exchange for leniency.
Smart move, if you're facing a hangman's noose. So did he lead them straight to the treasure?
He supposedly guided them back to Coco's Island, even pointed them in the right direction, but when they dug, nothing. The treasure was gone.
Are you kidding? Either he was leading them on a wild goose chase, or someone else got there first.
Exactly, and that just deepens the mystery. Did Thompson manage to re-hide the treasure? Did another band of pirates get to it first? We may never know.
Amazing. Over 200 years later, and we're still talking about this lost treasure. Have there been any other attempts to find it? Anyone with a treasure map and a dream?
Oh, plenty. Over the centuries, Coco's Island has seen it all. Explorers, treasure hunters, even a few eccentric millionaires, all convinced they held the key to the treasure of Lima.
You'd think with that much searching, someone would have found at least something.
They've found clues. Strange markings, rumors of hidden tunnels, even the occasional gold coin washing ashore. But the main treasure, still out there.
It's almost like the island itself doesn't want to give up its secrets. Maybe that's part of the allure, right?
Maybe. It keeps the legend alive. That sense of adventure, the hope that maybe, just maybe, you'll be the one to finally find it.
I can definitely see that.
Uh,
All right, so from buried treasure on a remote island, let's switch gears to a different kind of island mystery. One that's a lot less about riches and a lot more about the raw, untamed power of the sea. We're heading back to Scotland, to a place called the Flannan Isles. Ever heard of it?
Rings a bell? Isn't that where that lighthouse mystery happened?
That's the one. The Flannan Isles Lighthouse. It's not about pirates or gold, but about something far stranger. We're talking about the unexplained disappearance of 3 lighthouse keepers in the middle of winter. It really makes you think, doesn't it? All these stories, these mysteries we've been talking about, the ocean just has this way of swallowing things up, making them disappear.
It's humbling, isn't it? We like to think we've got it all figured out with our maps and technology and everything, but then you hear about a boat reappearing thousands of miles away, or an island vanishing from the face of the earth.
It definitely makes you realize there are forces out there bigger than all of us.
Forces we might never fully understand, which is kind of exciting, don't you think?
It is. Out of all the stories we've covered today, which one stuck with you the most?
Oh, that's a tough one. They all get you thinking, you know?
Right. Each one is like a puzzle with a few pieces missing.
Exactly. I think for me, it's the Flannan Isles Lighthouse. Something about that one just gets under your skin, you know?
It is pretty eerie. 3 guys going about their business and then gone without a trace. Do you think we'll ever know for sure what happened out there?
It's hard to say. I mean, people are still finding new evidence, new clues to old mysteries all the time. Maybe one day someone will uncover a piece of evidence that cracks the case wide open.
Or maybe some mysteries are better left unsolved. You know, there's something to be said for a little mystery in life.
Definitely. It keeps things interesting, right?
Exactly. Keeps us guessing.
Yeah.
Well, folks, that about wraps up our deep dive into island mysteries for today.
We barely scratched the surface. There are so many more stories out there just waiting to be discovered.
Absolutely. And who knows what else is out there, hidden beneath the waves, just waiting to be found. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never lose your sense of wonder.